Howdy doody gamers.
Who's ready to learn a thing or two about some stuff?
About business.
Who wants to know how to do business?
It's not even like specifically business. It's just like
It's business.
things that I wish someone taught me before I became a working adult. And that spans a lot of topics.
Sure, yeah.
Like
The things that schools don't teach you
yeah.
that would be the most helpful things to know.
Like how to find health insurance and what health insurance terms mean and bank account terms and things like that. So I hope everyone's ready to learn. I'm hope. Welcome to my channel.
I'm Hope.
This is Hopefee. No, I hope that I will answer the questions y'all have. I don't know everything, but if anyone has any questions for me while we're doing this, please write it in the chat as we're going.
I'll keep an eye on the chat.
If something relevant pops up, I will try to answer it while we're on the topic.
I also want to forewarn everyone, Julia's made the most buck wild presentation.
Yeah, I lost steam like halfway through, but
She went crazy and like went off on this presentation for no like it could have been just the same as being just like text.
You know what happened was that I wrote the doc for this and it was so many pages long and I had lost my mind. And when I like do a lot of like very brain heavy work, and then I have to like keep doing work, it just like enters a fugue state.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, so it's the slides are Ava themed.
For no reason, but they are great.
They are, yeah, for no reason.
Get excited. It is hot in New York today, yes.
Yeah, that's why Jacob's dressed in shorts and a tank top, and I'm dressed in long sleeves and long pants.
Long slacks, long black sleeves. Julia was determined to look like a professor.
Uh-huh.
A true professor looks like a professor in all scenarios.
Well, I have to fool people into thinking that I know more than I do.
True.
And you do that by dressing like a business person.
But you do know a lot. You're the person who knows the most on our team about all of this stuff.
That's true. I've had a lot to learn. So yeah, it's again very dense, and I apologize, but I tried to make it what I thought would be the most relevant to people. But if there's something you have a specific question about, again, feel free to write it in chat, and I'll see if I know the answer. And there are sections of this that are very like geared towards Americans, like the healthcare section will be very America. So I apologize to all the Europeans.
I'm just getting it ready so that you're ready to go.
In the rest of the world. But yeah. So should we get into it now? It's been a couple minutes.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
All right. We're like good here, right? Okay.
Good in what sense?
That
it
it's
was working?
like, yeah, that it was going. I guess people can see like what.
People would probably tell us if it wasn't going.
Yeah, it's true. If they could just hear us somehow.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had a career. Okay. I went to art school, as all y'all know, probably. I went to the Fashion Institute of Technology. So I never learned this stuff officially, like in a classroom setting. I just picked it up as I went, as will you. Don't worry, you're not supposed to know this before you go into, I mean, you can know it beforehand, but just remember, you're like, how do I do tax stuff? It's like people go to school to do tax stuff. Like that's their whole 4 years of college and probably more.
And they have to do that because TurboTax consistently lobbies to keep tax complicated so they can make untold amounts of money.
Listen, I have a slide about how I don't want to live in America anymore. But we got to work with what we got. And the way to make it work for us as much as we can is to learn what we need to know. and then utilize that information to pick the best options for us, right?
Totally. The systems may suck, but they're the systems we have presently, and so you may as well use them to the best of your ability.
It's basically like the system sucks, but the system's there, and you're forced to participate in the system. So you might as well learn it, and you can also push for change, right? So, a general disclaimer, I am an artist / YouTuber / idiot. I am not a lawyer. I am not an accountant. So if there's anything hyper specific to you or anything that I say now or during this class, you should probably talk to someone who has a license or degree in these things to make sure that it works for you. And, you know, every state is different. Even if like the tax laws, for example, if you live in Manhattan or the boroughs, is different from the taxes on the rest of New York. Like they'll be different if you live like Nassau East or like Westchester and everything like north and west and whatever of that. So like it's going to be specific to you and the area you live in, especially if you live in a city. Also in this class, I'm going to try and explain everything, assuming that someone doesn't understand like the most basic, like, or not basic, but like the entry level things, or like what would be considered the entry level things, because financial literacy and healthcare stuff, again, not really taught all that well. So I'm just going to try to go over everything. We're not here to shame everyone. We're here to help people know how to do things. Here's what we're going to cover in this class. Hopefully we can do it in 2 hours. We're going to go over some just general advice. And also this is geared towards, like people who want to be an artist or freelancer and things like that. But like, you know, there's going to be some broad knowledge, but general advice, how I view time management, because I think it's probably like my greatest skill is time management. Time management, according to my brother and my dad, who both have ADD, I put addition, huh?
You did, yeah.
Yeah, I meant to put addition. Addition.
But also it is an addition to the time management section, so
that's true.
Works either way.
Works either way. Yes, I asked them for time management tips because they both have ADD, and you know, again, whatever, we'll get to it when we get to it. Banking terms, like going over like things you'll see when you sign up for a bank account or a credit card, or like a retirement account, things like that. We'll also go over types of accounts, some budgeting tips, tax tips, advice for paying for college, kind of health insurance, broken down and explained so that you can hopefully pick a good health insurance for you, because if you are going to try and be an illustrator, like a freelance illustrator, you'd have to then find your own health insurance, and that gets complicated. Stretches, exercises you can do for your hands and your shoulder and elbow and wrist and everything. General tips for dealing with burnout and imposter syndrome. Just to let you know, I started dealing with burnout right after the health insurance explained. So this whole section is what it is.
It's written within burnout. So yes. You had the most intimate knowledge of burnout at that moment.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. I really tried to put myself in the headspace.
Yeah.
Of burnout.
You were doing the method acting of making a presentation.
Exactly. Okay. So, section number 1, Neon Genesis career advice. Segment 1, protect your future self. And protecting your future self is basically the theme of the whole draw class today.
You should have put future in parentheses. Just wanted to say that.
I should have. I was trying to work in the parentheses at some point, and then like I couldn't make it work.
That was the perfect time.
Yeah, without it feeling sarcastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should have there.
Imagine it's there. Imagine
there's a parentheses there. I also want to give a big shout out to George at Organized Havoc. George is the person that we use and that I work with the most closely on the team to help with business things. So when I was starting to write up this class, I emailed George to ask, like, if he had any advice that he wanted to contribute. And so there's a bunch of it sprinkled in. I'm bringing it up because he put some things in the disclaimer, or not the disclaimer, but like, you know, this section. We went over this entire guild. I did a really good job
Guild
reading this entire guide, whatever. This entire guide is focused on protecting your future self.
The Drawclass Guild.
The
All
Drawclass
of you
Guild.
here today are in the Drawclass Guild.
Yeah.
Please don't go on strike.
So it's basically like the way that I view everything is that even if like I think, or you know, even if I think that future me could do it or could handle it or could deal with it, I always act like there's the possibility that I can't, like maybe I'll be busier later. And that's how I approach everything. So that's how this guide is going to be focused on, or what this guide is focused on. Here's some general tips that you've probably heard a lot, but I feel they bear repeating. Don't work for free. I did that once in college because I didn't really care all that much about the assignment, and I didn't really need that much money at the time. So I did it for free, hoping like, you know, that they'd contact me again for work. And they did. And I asked, you know, are you going to pay me? And they went, nope. And I went, okay.
No, you're the one who works for free, remember?
Yeah. And I was like, do you want to pay me this time? And they went, nope. And I went, okay, goodbye. And then I never worked with them again.
Yeah.
It was pretty good. Not doing work for free includes if you're like on a staff position and you've been hired as like the graphic designer or something, and then they were like, hey, can you write articles? I'm not saying this for me. I realize that this could sound like I'm saying this about myself, but it's not. If you're not comfortable with doing it, don't do it. Like, that's not what they're paying you for, because then they'll just say like, well, you agreed to this before, what's changed now, you know? And this isn't to say that like, if, you know, one of your coworkers is out, like you shouldn't like help to cover or something. It's just like agreeing to do a thing forever and not getting paid. Like if the thing they're asking you to do is someone else's full-time job, don't add that to your job without more pay, because then they just have 2 employees for the price of 1, and so you're getting screwed out of money and you're getting screwed out of mental health because you're going to be stretched so thin. Right?
Yeah.
Is that like...
For sure.
Yeah, I always feel like there's a distinction between like being asked to do something extra and being asked to add on a full-time job as extra, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because then that company just tends to say like, well, you agreed to do this before, so you'll keep doing this. And they won't go, oh, I should reward them for that. They went, well, they didn't ask for any money to begin with, so whatever. Like, I'm not going to give it to them, you know?
Companies are not in the business of trying to make your life better.
Yes.
They are in the business of trying to squeeze as much efficiency out of you as possible. And so they will do that without fail every single time. Yes. Even if they're acting like they're not going to, that's what they're doing secretly. Yeah.
All companies act like they have 6 months before they get shut down, before the decision to shut them down happens. So they're going to try to squeeze as much work out of you as possible while saving as much money as possible for the company. And then when they survive more than 6 months, they're like, good job, us. That goes to the CEO, me, the CEO.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, the team really hustled to get this done, I should reward them, because they won't do that. Or they'll be like, here's a pizza party, and then they'll order one pizza for 100 employees.
Yes.
You're like, this sucks. Again, not an attack on anyone. Luckily, I've not really had that experience. So, yes, prioritize yourself. There is nothing wrong with setting healthy boundaries for yourself. You have to take care of you, because these companies, again, will dump you and try to find someone who will do the double work or something. But that's also work. So like, you'll keep your job probably, because they don't want to go out and find someone else to do the position you're doing, because then also they'd probably have to pay that person more. So like, you have some wiggle room of like pushing back of like, no, I don't want to add more work to my work without more pay. So, you know, don't be so scared to put healthy boundaries, because also if you put boundaries and they don't respect it, are they really worth working with? You gotta kind of figure that out for yourself, like what is worth it, you know? Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
Okay.
We just got to keep moving.
We got to keep trucking.
We got slides.
Here's a note from George. Do not expect to do art full time to earn a living right out of the gate. A lot of artists work at Starbucks or similar places to offer medical coverage for part-timers. It's also nice to have the W-2 to show on top of your 1099s to landlords and other institutions that don't trust random freelance work without years of history, which is very true. So basically a W-2 is like when you get paid a salary, and they can say, you know, this is proof of pay stubs for the year. That's like the W-2 gets sent to you from a company. And it's to say they've had stable employment, right? And this is how much they earned, and this is how much they paid in taxes, blah, blah, blah. 1099s are filed when you do a freelance job that isn't a staff position. So like, you will get paid by a company. Let's say you do like a piece for a company, and then they pay you an amount of money. Whatever that amount of money is, they will probably, around like tax season, probably like February of the following year, they'll send you a 1099. So it's great. And listen, you got to take care of yourself, however that looks. So, you know, doing a job that is not exactly what you want to be doing right at that moment, but does give you the space to, you know, pay for things you need to be able to then do this job. Like, I think people really don't think enough about the mental load of things, and like the stress of saying, I have to get like my next freelance gig, I have to get my next piece out, I need to sell, or else I'm not gonna be able to eat, I'm not gonna be able to rent a place. Like, that panic takes up so much space in your brain that if you freed it up by doing this job that is not like exactly what you want to be doing at the time, frees up so much to be creative, to also give you the drive and motivation to go after these art jobs. Like Jacob worked in a pharmacy for a long time. He's talked about that before.
Yeah, I did this exact thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I worked part-time at a pharmacy, and the pharmacy could like cover my basics for surviving. Yeah. Where I lived at the time.
Like, you might not be thriving.
No, it's like the pharmacy covered surviving, making me not die. Yeah. Only. Yeah. And so then I didn't have to worry about dying. Yeah. And thus I was able to devote the rest of my time to doing my comics and then freelancing for College Humor. So
it also lets you pick your freelance jobs a little more.
Yeah, you're not like quite in the same crunch.
Yeah, you're not like accepting every job that comes in because you feel like you have to because of money problems, right? Like, you know, you can pick ones that are interesting to you, that feel like they will further your freelance career or whatever, or, you know, help in your portfolio or be a good connection, those sorts of things. Having any sort of job doesn't make you less of an artist and can, in fact, make your life easier. Don't make things more difficult on yourself to pay bills. Just make sure you have the mental bandwidth and ability to make art when you want. And I think this is all very good advice. Something that I keep harking on about is libraries, especially if you live in the US, especially if you live in Manhattan, Brooklyn, Bronx. Like, our library system is phenomenal, but library systems in general in America are great, unless you live in probably Florida. But even then, they still have resources for you. They provide so many different kinds of programs that can teach you about filing your taxes, doing accounting. They can help you with passport filing. You can rent equipment from them. So if you want to like get into streaming, you can rent cameras and things from them. You can rent laptops. It's really, really great. They also have people, I know that the Brooklyn library system does this, and all of the libraries in Brooklyn are connected. So if you have a library card to one of them, it allows you access to the whole system. You can go there and they have classes on like a huge variety of things like media production. So they'll teach you how to use the camera, how to set up things for streaming, how to set up OBS, how to, film things. It's really, really great. And I find it, I don't know, it's like such a good resource. And I think people kind of like wave their hand at it because they think like it's going to be, when your school is like 15 years behind.
Yeah.
And they're like trying to teach you, they're like, here's computer class. We're doing typing class, and you're like, 14.
You've been chatting on AIM Messenger for like 5 hours a night for the past year, and you're typing at 150 words per minute. Yeah,
you're typing faster than the computer teacher. That's like, raise your wrists, type with all fingers, but you cannot move your hands. Type in, whatever. But the library system's great, and I really think that people don't appreciate it enough.
A quick chat question to address. I think we can address pretty quickly. Canned Fruit said advice on letting go of a W-2 job and moving toward the dream, emotionally as well as financially. And I can just speak from my personal experience. I didn't let go of my my day job at the pharmacy until I was making enough money from my art to totally cover all of my expenses. Mm-hmm. So I waited until I knew that I was safe to, at least for a while, be okay trying to do it.
Yeah.
And then once I felt like it was really solid and I was getting consistent work, then I was like, okay, I'm going to let go of the W-2. If you feel like you can't really pursue your dream unless you let go of your W-2, make sure you've got a lot of savings saved up and give yourself a span of time to try.
Yeah.
That aligns with the amount of money you have saved.
Yeah.
And then like try your heart out during that time to get something going with the knowledge that if you don't get there in that time frame, you might have to get another job and try again. I mean, that's just like the reality of the situation. But my recommendation is, to the best of your ability, work while you still have the job until it's getting close to being sustainable. And then when you can get rid of the job and really push on the art.
The other part too is that I think that people always think that they always need to move forward, and sometimes moving forward is taking a step back, and it's not like you are always moving forward. If you are doing a freelance career for a while and you say, hey, like my expenses changed, like my rent went up or food went up or this, that, and the other thing, or like I have extra things to cover, my life's changed, you can go back to doing freelance part-time and having like a W-2 job. Mm-hmm. There's no shame in like, pushing back and forth on that.
People do it all the time.
People do it all the time. And again, there's no shame in trying to make sure that you are safe and secure and all of those things, right?
Totally. And it ties right into the emotional advice, which is, I would say, try to take your emotions out of it as much as you can and focus on your literal financial realities. Yeah. And make your decisions based on that. And then save your emotions for making the actual art. Put your emotions there. Yeah. But don't put your emotions in the career stuff. You just have to like look at the numbers and see what makes sense.
Yeah.
And then, like Julia said, don't feel like you failed if you have to do something else to make the numbers make sense. It's just the numbers. You just got to make them make sense. Yeah. There's no success or failure. Just make them make sense.
Just like, you know, when you're working your W-2 job, if there's any downtime at your job, you know, take that time to either rest. Again, there's no shame in rest. I'll go over that in a minute. But think about how you want to use your time when you get home. Like, do you need the rest that day, or do you feel energized to make a piece for your portfolio, or to reach out to companies to say, here's my portfolio, I would love to freelance, you know, or to connect with an art director, things like that. You know, you can use your free time to, you know, start that dream and still have free time. It's like gonna be a little more of a crunch than, you know, you might want to be doing, but like, you know, you kind of have to decide what you want the most and what you need and like go for it. Yep. Let's
keep going.
Time management. Time management, again, I think is probably the greatest skill I've ever forced myself to learn, because I was not always good at time management. And again, I'm super rigid about my time management. I again grew up with my mom is very like organized and very good at time management. My dad and my brother were not for a really long time, and so like to help them, I learned how to help them, and then like I don't know, I kind of honed the skill. So I hope that what I have to teach can help you guys, but it might be not the way that you want to do it, and that's fine. This is just the way that I approach time management.
You got slides on that.
I got slides on that. This will be different for everyone.
There's one of them.
You have to find a system that works for you, but a system does exist. I talked about this earlier. Don't underestimate the mental load of a thing. If you are holding a task in your brain, like I have to remember to email this person, or I have to remember to get the sketches done by this, write it down. If it's helpful for you to write it down on like a Google Doc that you leave up, you can do that. If there's something that's like really important that I really don't want to forget, I write it down on a Post-it and I put it on my computer monitor where I'm going to see it all the time. And I try to keep my area pretty clutter free so that those notes don't get lost in the clutter. Another thing that I do, or that I try to do for myself whenever I feel the capacity to, is to try and get ahead on my work, because I don't want to have to deal with an emergency like personal health or YouTube doing something fun, and also crunch to meet a deadline, right? Crunching a little in my day to the point where I don't feel completely spent by the end of the day saves me from being in like panic mode at the end of the month. If like an emergency pops up and I'm like, oh my God, I have a million things to do. I wish I did this stuff sooner. Right. Here's my process.
Jesus, every time this slide comes up, it like takes me out again. You're going to have to maybe shrink the camera a bit to fit all the text.
Oops.
That's the opposite of what I wanted you to do.
Fit screen. Okay.
There we go. Just make us a little small for a sec.
A little smaller. This is I just put this here for funsies.
It's so ridiculous.
But I'll try to go over it in a way that's comprehensive. So this is generally how I look at my schedule, right? So here's my general process. I think about the tasks that I have to do. I try to look at it like a month ahead of time.
Just laughing at chat, saying emergency and klaxon blares.
Yeah. So I try to generally look broad and then go more narrow, right? So I try to look at like generally what I expect to see in the month, generally what I expect to see in my week, and then there's my day. And I try not to get like too in the weeds about it, but like if I know that I'm gonna have a big task at the end of the month, why don't I like try to get as much out of the way as possible so that I can tackle that big thing in the month, so that big thing, I have the mental space to be able to deal with it and the time to be able to deal with it. So like if we have a big merch drop that I'm for some reason involved with, for example, that would happen like, the first of next month. And if, again, I don't really do this, but if I'm like, I have to get, or like if I have like a big thing that is due on the first of the month and I have to do that the week before and I know it's going to take me like a week, I try to allow myself that week by getting all the things done beforehand and then like shifting everything a little bit. So I try to prioritize by things that I need, right? Things that I absolutely need to do during the week. And these things, and it can look different from person to person. The things that I absolutely need: sleep, I need to eat, I maybe have a doctor's appointment that's coming up, I have therapy, maybe I have like an appointment, whatever. Those are the things that I absolutely need to do and cannot move, right? And again, need can be, I need to have an hour break before bed, I need to have 2 hours before bed, whatever. The next bit is very important. So to me, these are tasks that have a deadline, or if someone on the team is waiting for me to do their step. So like, I try to be as considerate as possible. So like, if I know that a video is due the first of the next month and that there are several people waiting for me, I'm going to try to do that as soon as possible so that those people then have the wiggle room to say, like, I would like to do this soon, so that if I have an emergency or whatever, then they have that space, right? Like, I don't want to make them crunch because I left it to the last minute. And also tasks with a deadline, like you have to submit a freelance piece or something. And then there's like the medium importance, right? These are things that I need to do, or like that I really should do, but if it gets dropped, like, and there was just so much like very important things that are going on, I could say like, hey, sorry, can you cover me? Or I can really like crunch, which again, I don't really like to super crunch, because that is very exhausting and it like throws me off for the week, right? And then there's the things that are the least important. There's still things that I should do, but like, I don't know, if they fall off, it's fine. Someone had asked me on Twitter, like, what if your process, like, how do you calculate the time it takes you to do a thing if you have to take breaks all the time? And I'm like, okay, that's your process then. You can't magically, if you are someone who absolutely has to take breaks during your process or while making a piece, that is part of your process. You're not going to magically not do that thing, so you might as well calculate it. Everything that you do to get a piece done, that's part of your process. If part of your process is going to the store right before the piece to buy supplies, if it's, research, it's like it's whatever you have to do. You have to embrace how you work, because if you fight against how you work, then you are just going to be spinning your wheels, because that friction is just going to make you spin out, and you're going to spend so much time being like, no, I have to focus. No, I have to do this. No, I have to do that. Just like embrace it. And the only thing that like not admitting to yourself that this is how you work does is slowing you down and making you feel a heavier mental load and making you feel stressed out and guilty. Like, I am someone who can work from start to finish with no breaks. I can work like a full day without moving, without I don't know, like I can just focus. I don't have to have something that's on. I could just go. That's my process. Someone else who says, well, I can work in chunks of 20 minutes and then I have to have like 5-minute breaks to watch a video, to walk around, to go pet my dog.
That's what I do.
And that's fine. If it helps you get the stuff done.
I find, and I think many people find, that I can work really hard if I know that I don't have to do it for very long.
Yeah.
And so I'm always like working and I'm thinking like, I got that 30-minute timer running. Yeah. And it's going to hit 0 at some point, and then I don't have to work for a little bit. Yeah. And so then I don't focus on anything else because I'm just like, well, this is only a little bit of time. Yeah. And that like enables my brain to not go into looking too far into the future of the work. Yeah. And seeing how much needs to be done and then shutting down as a result of overload.
Yeah. And I think also that's how I've been managing to tackle working out recently. The thing that I hate doing the most in my day today is working out. I despise it. I am not the kind of person who can embrace working out. But if I don't work out, a lot of the times I'm not leaving this apartment, I'm not moving, right? So I have to force myself to work out. And I've started to not hate it because I've looked at it saying like, okay, it's just like 45 minutes to an hour. I can do that. That's just like, and before I was like, that's so much time. That's so much time I could be doing spending something else. But then the workout program I've been doing is like 4 chunks, right? It's like stretching and warm up. And then there's like the 3 workout sections. And for each one I knock out, I'm like, there's only 2 more sections left. And then there's like, at the end of the section, I have a break. And then there's 2 more sections. At the end of this section, I have a break. And then there's only 1 more section. Like I just like view it in the chunks that it is, so that my brain is less overwhelmed by it. And I think that like your workout timer like is doing the same thing for you.
Yeah, I mean that's how all workouts are. They're supposed to be sectioned like that. And but I think it's a good reason for it too.
Yeah, but I think that like your work.
Oh, my work timers. Yes. Sorry, you said my workout timers, which I also have.
Yes, you do.
I have timers for everything. Timers are very helpful for me. Yeah. But yeah, you're totally right. My work timer does accomplish a very similar thing. It makes like a big impact on my mental game without really it makes my output better. Yeah. Because I work more consistently because I'm not thinking about other stuff while I'm working. Yeah. Because I know that I can think about other stuff every 30 minutes. Yeah. If I'm just like, I got to sit down and do 4 hours of work. Yeah. I'm going to be spending like 2 hours of that staring off into space, looking out the window. Right. Being like, oh, let me just watch this like one more YouTube video and then I'll do it. But if I'm like, okay, 30 minutes now, and I hit timer and I see the number counting down, I'm like, number counting down, gotta work. Yeah. So it all depends on like what works for you. And you can find that you can get like way more out of yourself while also feeling better about it and feeling like productive, but not like burnt out. Yeah. And again, if you need to take breaks, which I will say in general, you should take breaks. I'm the person who's in the wrong here. I get like hyper focused. But you should be taking breaks. You should walk around your apartment. You should do stretches. You should, step away for a second. It will do you a world of good. But in taking breaks, you need to embrace taking the breaks as part of your process. Embrace taking breaks. Embrace taking breaks. Because again, you will just stress yourself out and then you won't like feel good while you're doing your work. And art is tied so much to how you feel while you're making it that like you're not going to be happy with your piece. And then you're like, I spent so much time on this damn thing. I couldn't focus. It sucks. Blah, blah, blah. Just like knowing how you work, embracing it and accepting it will make your art turn out better. Your stress levels will go down probably, at least a little bit. And your mental space will be freed up a little bit. You won't feel so, like stressed out. And I don't know, I get like anxious. Like I get so like, what is it?
when you get, it's like
antsy,
I guess. I get like
fidgety.
Yeah, I get like fidgety and like kind of snippy if I have like a lot of things on my mind and I'm like trying to run through everything without like any breaks. I'll get like snippy if someone like comes in and like pesters me or something, you know. My brain's like, what do you want?
I can confirm this.
Yes.
I've been snipped at.
I'm sorry.
I've taken a snip.
I'm sorry. It's just like you don't have the mental space for something else trying to wiggle in, you know. And that's like you've given yourself too much. So I wanted to show then how like I break down my work. And again, this is just my Drawfee work in my day schedule, right? So I list out my tasks for Drawfee in vague terms, and this is most of them. This is like, and I break it down into two headspaces because it's hard to switch in between the two of them.
I instinctively made a disgusted face when I saw this slide.
I'm sorry.
It's like, ugh.
Yeah, I have a lot of things that I take care of for Drawfee because I'm the team organizer, the accountant, the emails person, things like that. And then also I do Drawtectives, I participate in speed draws, I do regular episodes. So there's like the non-creative brain and the creative brain. And it's hard to switch in between these, at least I find for myself. Like doing a piece that requires a lot of thought, like a speed draw recording, takes me a while to get into it. And if I have to do one of these like non-creative tasks at the same time, it's hard to go back to doing a speed draw. Because like, there's a whole thought process thing going on. So generally my tasks here can be broken down into accounting, scheduling, team maintenance / tune-up, organizational things and Drawtectives, and then like the regular episodes. And that's how I view it. So when I break it up, the things that I need to do is sleep, eat, therapy, the company tax stuff, and government compliance stuff. Those are the things that are the most important. If I don't do these things, I will shut down or the company will shut down. I need to do these things above anything else. Everything else can wait. The very important things is accounting, because again, if I mess up on the accounting, the tax stuff and the government compliance stuff kind of falls. Scheduling guests, talking to companies that are interested in sponsoring us, helping the team. It's all things that people need me for and that the company needs me for. And if I don't do these things, it will impact the amount of money me and the rest of the team gets. If it affected just me, maybe these things would be different. But because other people are relying on me to get these things done, it's put into the very. So then the medium things are the renders, because again, if I can't do it because I'm too busy with the need or the very important, I can ask someone to cover for me. I do the social blast for the most of the limited time items, like merch, like the merch for the anniversary, which if you haven't picked up your anniversary merch, that's leaving on Monday. So you should do that. Although Nathan did that one this week. Responding to lesser messages on Patreon, and that's not, it's like, if anyone's like, I really need a refund, or I really need like this, that, or like my account was hacked or something like that, I will respond to that in the very, but the mediums are like, how do I find this information that's already readily accessible? And then I have to be like, it's right here, dog. And then also like checking the team schedule for a month or two out. So like if I know anyone's going to be going on a trip in like the next month, or like 2 months ahead, because I know how long it takes us to get an episode done and recorded, and to cover for that. I will try to organize everyone to take care of that. And then there's the least important, which is Drawtective's assets, because that season isn't out right now, so it doesn't really matter how long that takes. And minor tweaks to the Drawfee Discord. So like if anyone wants me to change the name of a channel, I do that then, because it's fine. So on the right is my schedule. There's the things that I need. I need to sleep. I need to have my wake up and my breakfast time. I need to have my lunch. I need to have my dinner. I have my wind down time, which I need, or else I'm in bed, like, gotta get emails done. And again, sleep. So everything that I need to do is in that orange banner. Then I've broken down into like what the rest of my day generally looks like. So again, accounting, emails, scheduling, all the creative stuff I try to put in that small bracket between breakfast and lunch, so that I because generally those things don't take that long to begin with, but then also it's out of the way, so then the bigger chunk I have left for the thing that takes me the longest to do, which is the creative stuff. Speed draws, renders, Drawtective's assets, blah blah blah. The things for after dinner, I usually like to make me and Jacob chill out time. I will do work in that if I have to, or if I feel like it. I will do work in there, but I try to use it as rest and recovery for me. But this is how I tend to look at my work. And for freelancers, it might be like, the things you have to do are like posting your latest piece, sketching out your latest piece, doing research for it, doing the refined lines, doing the line work, the color work, scanning it, or, reformatting it, sending it to the client, emailing new clients, doing accounting, blah, blah, blah. So you can break it up there too into creative and non-creative, and, look at your schedule this way and say, which one takes me the longest to get into in the whole process. And again, in my process for creative, I'm taking in like the wind up time into like, I can't just switch from looking at a bunch of numbers to like drawing Goku. My brain needs time to process Goku, to
Sounds
think
like a
about
skill
Goku.
issue.
Yeah.
I can draw Goku at any time. I'm always ready for that.
Yeah. Well, I need time to wind up into drawing Goku. So that gets, brought into my creative time slot. And that's why it takes me so long. Like, I could probably knock out a piece in like an hour, but like thinking about the piece is probably another hour.
Yeah.
You like think about what you actually want to do for it, plan it out, maybe sketch it, stuff like that. That's all part of the process. So that gets put in like the big chunk. So this is generally how I look at my thing. I just find that if I leave this chunk to like creative, that's where I'm happiest. If I can do everything that's like that I don't really enjoy, that's all like business accounting things, to the smaller chunk, I'm happy, because then I don't have to think about it. It's out of my brain. Those were the really important things. Now I can do like the fun stuff, right?
Yeah. So basically you can try to chunk your own day into bits that work the best for the way your mind likes to handle the various things you need to get done. If you're better at like doing the things that suck the most straight away, put them at the beginning of the day. If you need like time to like get your work going so that then you're in the headspace where you can do the hard stuff, put it towards the end of the day. Yeah. You can do whatever works for you.
If you wake up and you're like, I need to treat myself to doing the thing I'm excited at, to do literally anything else, do that.
Yeah. And you can switch it when you need to, like Julia just said.
Yeah. It's, again, sometimes my whole day is doing this. We also do I have therapy appointments that are usually like at like 3 or 4 or whatever. You know, you have to just, this is not my rigid schedule. This is like my basic, if nothing else is going on, schedule. There's streams in here. There's like, it changes day to day, but this is generally how I like to think of it. So that's how I view it. Tips from my brother and my dad, because they both have ADD, and they both have had, they're both blue collar workers, but you know, my brother has 2 itty bitty children, and my dad had 2 itty bitty children in a country that he didn't speak the language of, one of which was deaf and the other one had ADD. And you know, they both managed fine. Everyone's alive and healthy. So I asked them what their tips are and how they manage to get through things, because also my brother's like very fidgety. He's always like playing with the radio. He's always tapping something. He's always like moving. And my dad is someone who's just like, to me seems very scattered, but I'm just like not in his head. So again, this will be different for everyone, but again, you just have to embrace that this is how you work. You know, if you have ADD, you know you have it, and you know that it's going to take you longer to do a task, or maybe it'll take you shorter if you schedule it like, you know, in a certain way. My brother said that he actually feels like ADD helps him a lot with certain things because he is so busy. Like, he's a teacher, he teaches track and field, he teaches or coaches wrestling, he has a 2-year-old, he has a 5-month-old, you know, he has a lot of like, he does a lot of things with family and friends, like he goes to a lot of concerts, and he has a lot of like general things to take care of. So having a lot of things to bounce around in, he finds is really helpful, because the second he starts getting sidetracked on a thing, he uses that energy to just launch into the next thing. My brother also like makes a lot of things. He makes surfboards, like wooden surfboards. So he's like, you know, playing with the kids here, and then he's like, all right, I gotta go take care of this thing, and then he'll go take care of the thing, and then he's like, well, I really feel like working on the surfboard, and he'll go work on the surfboard, and then like he just like uses his momentum to bounce him into things. My dad says that he writes everything down. My dad was telling me a story that my dad's building a barn. Don't ask. He's building a barn, and the second he had the idea and he was excited about it and he had the most energy about it, he called the contractor, or like, you know, it was an architect. He called an architect and he was like, hey, I want to build a barn. Here are my ideas. And the guy was like, oh, great. So when do we start? And my dad was like, well, I'm hoping to start in 2 years. Architect was like, what the hell?
I don't even have schedules that go out that far.
Yeah, he's like, you want to do this in 3 months? Like, but that's how my dad works, is that because it was on his mind, he allowed himself to act on it and to get it done while he was thinking about it and while he had the most energy about it. And then, you know, he has other things he has to do. So the second he starts dipping on focus for this thing, his focus is now shifting to another thing. And then he just embraces that. And in order to keep track of the things that he's already taken care of, because he can't really like hold these things in his head all that much, is that he stays really organized. If you go, every time I've gone on vacation with my father, or like we've gone to France to go see family or something, he has, and it's my dad's binder. He has a binder where he puts all of the tickets, all of like every bit of information he puts into these little sleeves in the binder. And that's, he's just got it. And then he knows that getting going for the day is going to take him longer, so he starts to get ready the night before. You know, he puts the binder in his bag. He double checks it. He puts it in his bag. It's done so that when the most energy and the most things are going on the next day, he just, like, he can check it and he's like, okay, it's already there. That task is done. He just puts it aside, and then that way his brain, which is, you know, being frazzled by all these things that are happening, he can just, like, move on, right? So he just tries to get ahead, and again, he tries to be nice to his future self because he knows how he works and he can't fight it. You know, I've seen my dad try to not work the way that he works, and it's only ever led to like an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
And since he's embraced it, since he's figured out what he needs in order to get things done, it's been great. And my dad still forgets things. It's fine.
But so do I. I don't even have ADD.
I know, so do I. I keep losing my phone in the apartment, and I keep being like, where's my phone? Jacob's like, Jesus Christ. I just don't think about it, because I'll put it down and then I'll just go do things. Yeah, and someone in chat saying, like, make a cute, like, project scrapbook. You know, like, if you need it to be visually appealing in order for you to, like, have a good time looking at your checklist, do it. Embrace how you need to work, and things will be better for you rather than fighting it. Because again, you're just going to be unhappy because you've already tried to work differently. And that's not saying you can't change, you can't improve, you can't be better. But I think that since embracing how my dad and my brother work, they've gotten better and improved.
Well, it's like building a strong framework.
Yeah.
That you can then build upwards from.
Yeah.
Like if you're just like in a mud pit sloshing around, you can't build a house.
Yes.
You got to like lay the foundation first.
Yeah.
And the foundation is whatever your system is.
Yeah.
You find a system that works for you, that's your foundation, then you can build on top of that.
Yeah.
Don't slosh around in the mud pit unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Unless you like that, you nasty little freak.
You'll be wasting so much energy that you could be putting to better use. You know, don't fight it. Embrace it and work with it, and that's how you improve, and that's how you get better. So that's my dad and my brother's general tips is just like, just accept it. There's nothing wrong with it. That's just how you work. And once you embrace it and once you learn how to work with it, you'll be happier and better for it. Okay. Next segment. Bank like you want to win. We're in the money zone.
Time to get your money right.
Time to get your money right. And before we get into your money, we got to explain some terms and some things. Okay? And again, you probably know a lot of this. I'm just going over everything for someone who doesn't. So you have a retail bank. These are banks that you can just walk into and say, I want to open a bank account. These are things like Citibank. These are things like TD. They offer services like checking and savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit cards, right?
Bank stuff.
Bank stuff. A bank that is not a retail bank that you could use, because there's other kinds of banks, but they're for like companies, like Goldman Sachs sort of thing, is a credit union. And credit unions are community-owned banks. They basically work by you, when you join that bank, you buy a share of that bank. And when you buy a share of that bank, it all goes to one collective fund, which then if someone who's part of that bank says, hey, I need a loan to buy a house, or I need a loan for this, that, or the other thing, they draw from that collection of money. And then it gets paid back, right? They usually offer less services. Like you probably won't be out seeing, like you won't be out on vacation seeing an ATM for your local credit union. But the advantage to it is that they usually have better interest rates. I go over this later, but interest rates are like what you earn by putting your money in an account. And again, we'll go over that in a moment. I'm just going over like, you know, broad terms right now. So you have your checking account. This is like the account that you open that uses your debit card. So when you use your debit card, that's where the money is being taken from, right? It's your like on hand money. And because it's like the money that's going to be shifting around the most, it has the worst returns. So you're not going to be like, you know, they're not going to be like, hey, thanks for saving $500 in your checking account. Here's another $500, right? That would be 100% returns.
They're going to be like, you can have 0.2% year over year based on what you got in there.
We're going to hold in our mind for the next 2 years that we will owe you a penny if you keep holding $500 in here. A savings account. A savings account is you can put your money in there and you try not to touch it too much. Some banks have a limited withdrawal, which is like you can't take money out from there. And usually they limit it to like a few a month. There's a few, I think, that limit it to like 4 a month, and that kind of changed during COVID. But I think things are starting to go back. And these usually have like okay returns. It's usually like less than 1%, but you can find a savings account that has like a 4% return. Again, we'll go over returns in a moment. A CD account. You might have heard CD accounts in commercials recently because the government upped interest rates for CD accounts, which is that you put the money in a bank account and you don't touch it. You don't look at it. You don't try to take your money back, but you will have a much better return on this thing. And I'm not saying they're like fantastic. Right now they're at like 4.5% or something. So basically like you can open a CD that's a 12-month CD at 4%, which basically means you give them a chunk of money.
You give them $1,000.
You give them $1,000.
A year later, you get $400 extra dollars.
Exactly. So then you just have $1,400. Someone in chat saying that in Canada they're called GICs, and in other places they're called certificate accounts. Yeah, this is certificate. Or no, certified deposit or something. Yeah, everyone has like a version of this, I think.
Also, I did that math wrong, by the way.
It was $40.
It was $40,
right?
not $400. It's not a 40% return rate.
No. But again, we go over interest rates in a moment. So, retirement accounts. And I know that a lot of people, because like I have friends who have said this back when I was in college, and they regret it now, who have said, I don't need to think about retirement accounts because that's in a long time. And then they turned like 33 and they were like, oh, Jesus, oh, Lord, I wish I took advantage of this retirement account.
Yeah.
Again, you should, I think I state this later, or maybe I already have, you should act like you are going to live forever but not earn money forever. Okay? Because you want to protect your future self as much as possible. Be kind to your future self. Your future self's going to have a lot of stuff they're going to have to think about. So, retirement accounts. The benefit of most retirement accounts is that money gets taken out of your paycheck today, which means you get taxed less on the money that you earned today, right? Because there's just less money in your paycheck, right? So when you retire, this money will then you can draw from these accounts, which means you now have like a different income source because you don't have a job, so you've retired, so now you're just like pulling from your retirement accounts, which means that you'll get taxed less or nothing depending on the kind of retirement account you've opened. So a lot of companies offer a 401k. I'm not saying all or most, I'm saying a lot. They will open a 401k for you or have that option. It's basically like you tell your company, like, yes, I want to participate in the 401k. And they say, okay, what percentage of your paycheck do you want taken out? This is how much we will match that. So basically, and I have an example here. A lot of companies will match up to 3% of your paycheck or something. So if you have an $1,000 paycheck, you take 3% of that, that's $30. That means you are taking $30 out of your paycheck and you are getting paid $970. And that's how much is going into like your taxable income, right? You have that $30, you put it into an account and your company says, well, we match up to 3%. So here's another $30. We're going to take $30 out of our profits and put it into your retirement account. And that retirement account also is usually tied in the stock market. So it's like earning interest as well.
Yeah.
So if you...
Which in normal times, it's reasonable to expect like a 10%.
Yes.
10 to 15% increase year over year.
Yeah.
If your stuff is in like this type of thing that's in like general indexed stocks.
Yeah.
That has not been the case the past few years, but that is the typical.
Yeah, we're in like an atypical time period. So anyway, so if your company offers a 401k and you can afford to have some money taken out of your paycheck, I really super recommend seeing how much your company matches and putting that money into the 401k.
It is free money. It's
literally free money. You're being like, I'll set aside $10, and your company is like, sold. I'll give you
$10 more.
And then you walk away with $20, but then also that $20 gets put into stocks, and then hopefully the stock market goes up over a period of 10 years, which, you know, it's going to dip sometimes, and sometimes it can dip majorly, but then it's always going to climb back up. So you just have to wait it out if you can. So it will just accrue interest, and then you just have a bunch of money in there that you get taxed less on later. Right?
We got more Canada knowledge here from Motzi. In Canada, okay. RRSP is the retirement account. IDK, if they're exactly the same as 401k, just for reference in case anyone's need it. So that might be the equivalent. You can look into that.
I encourage you. Also, I don't know if it's good for Canadians, but NerdWallet has a really good breakdown of like everything we're going to go over on account stuff. So worth looking into.
And to answer Canned Fruit's question, people in chat already answered, but for people watching, they said, dumb question, but if you quit your job, do you lose that all? Which is not a dumb question. It's a good question.
It is a good question.
And you don't lose it all. The account they open is in your name.
Yeah.
So then you can still access, obviously money's no longer going into that account once you have quit your job, but you still have access to all the money that's in that account.
It's also like, you know, probably earning interest and earning money.
Yeah, it will continue earning interest the same way.
And if you want more control over it, you can always transfer the retirement account to combine it with like a new retirement account that you have. Or you can give it, some banks will have like a 401k rollover thing where you can then have your 401k in your bank, and then your bank can manage it. And then that money like is still yours, and it's just like tied to the money you have. But I think like the returns are different, or maybe worse. It's worth looking out for. But like you can talk to like a rep at your bank about like options for that.
Just to also say, if there's like one huge piece of advice that I want you to remember, it's that if you work at a company with a 401k, find out what percentage they match and make sure that you're putting in that percentage.
Yes. Yeah, if you can afford to take that percentage
do so,
out.
it's literally just doubling that money for nothing.
Yes. There's also like, if it's a retirement account, I think like 401ks, if you just want to like convert that into money you can use today, I think there's a penalty on it, but it's like if you need it, you can do that. So, yeah, and as chat's pointing out, talking to your bank is literally free. So, I mean, I walk in there all the time. They know my name now. that's like, oh, hey, Julia.
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about? And it's because I have so many money questions because I grew up extremely poor. And I want to make sure that I'm doing smart things with my money and not just letting it sit there, which again, I'll go over the reasons why in a moment. But let's finish up the retirement accounts. Again, these are very America-centric, so I'm sorry to the Canadians and everyone else in chat who are not American.
I would recommend Googling like IRA equivalent your country.
Right.
And then see what you got.
So the IRA, the main difference between an IRA and a 401k is that you can open an IRA by yourself without going through an employer. So you can open it with your bank or a broker. It typically has more investment options than a 401k. There's like a much lower limit on how much you can put into it. Contributions from your income lowers your taxes. Distributions, which is like when you pull money from your IRA, are taxed at regular income later. So let's say your income tax is like 3%. They're going to tax that same 3% if you've retired in the same state as you were doing working. And the contribution limit is lower than a 401k. And Roth...
The contribution limit, just to clarify too, is a yearly,
yes,
I believe, limit.
Yeah, I think for IRA, the contribution limit is like $3,400. So you can only put $3,400 in every year.
Is it that low? Roth IRA, I know, is pretty low.
Roth IRA is low. I don't remember what the IRA one is.
I'll look it up while you're talking.
The 401k limit's like $25,000 or something. So Roth IRA, it's like a traditional IRA. The contribution limit's the same as an IRA, apparently.
It's $6,500 this year for a normal IRA.
$6,500. Okay, cool. The contribution limit's the same as an IRA. Pulling money from this account later is tax-free. That means you are not paying that income tax on it. Ain't that nice?
There is an important caveat for Roth IRAs, though, which is that if you make above a certain amount of money, you are no longer allowed to contribute to the Roth IRA.
That's right.
If your salary is above a certain amount. I don't know what it is this year, but back when I opened a Roth IRA, it was $100,000 a year. If you made more than that,
good Lord,
you weren't allowed to contribute to a Roth IRA.
So maybe look into a Roth IRA if you're earning less than $100,000, because again, this thing's going to accrue interest. You're going to earn money on this thing because it gets tied into the stock markets. I mean, it's probably going to earn money if you pull that money during an upcycle, but whatever. And it'll be tax-free. So it's basically like, do you want to lower your taxes now or do you want to lower your taxes later? That's the biggest difference, I think. Yeah. Tax-wise.
And also this year it's $153,000 for single tax filers. If you make more than that, you can't contribute to a Roth IRA.
There you go.
But if you're making more than $153,000, you're probably not that concerned about it.
Yeah.
There's other stuff you could be doing.
Can you contribute to an IRA, Roth IRA, and a 401k at the same time? I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do all those things.
As far as I know.
There's like, I think there's some benefits to combining, but that's like case by case basis. So it's worth, again, you can go into your bank and ask them about it and say like, I think they have like free financial advisors a lot of the time. And so you can just ask like, hey, what should I be doing with my money? Because they have, you know, an interest in you putting your money with them. So they will say, you know, or they basically want you to have the most money so that they have the most money.
According to fidelity.com, if you're eligible, you can contribute to both a Roth and traditional IRA in the same year, though you can only contribute up to the annual contribution limit among all of your traditional or Roth IRAs.
Okay.
So it's still that $6,500 limit,
right,
that you would have for both accounts. So there's not really that much of a reason to do it.
Yeah.
But you can contribute to a 401k and an IRA in the same year. And those are fine to do.
Okay. Also, if going to your bank and like talking to someone makes you nervous, because listen, I get it. Talking about my money or doing anything with my money is, Jacob's never seen me so stressed, is when I have to do literally anything with my money.
Yeah.
Go with a friend. Go with a friend to your bank that you trust, who's not gonna like blab to everyone about what you're doing with your money, or, you know, give away your info. Go with a family member. Yeah.
Take a friend, go to the bank, get boba afterwards.
Yeah.
Make a day of it.
I did a bunch of my banking stuff when I was starting off with my mom, because she used to work at a bank for a short period of time, so she knew better than me. But she mostly just sat there and was like, sounds good, you know, or like, this is what you should do. And she was just like letting me go and like explaining things I didn't understand. She was just there with moral support. It was great. All right. Banking terms. This is very important for everything we're talking about with money, right? So the FDIC, you're going to see this on banks. You're going to see this all over the dang place. The FDIC is the Federal Deposit Insurance Corp. Again, this is an American term. I'm sorry, the rest of the world. They will insure your money in the bank up to a certain amount. So depending on the kind of account that you open with them, depending on the kind of bank you're opening with, depending on if you're opening with a credit union, these insurance rates will be different, but they're usually like $100,000, $200,000, $1 million. You're usually pretty good for a while. Just when you go to a bank, make sure they are FDIC insured, or else you're gonna wind up in that like Silicon Valley bank situation where they closed and then everyone was like, but my money,
and they just like, took all the money.
Yeah. Which sucks. So make sure that your bank is FDIC insured. Okay. Interest. We talked about this a little bit earlier. The interest is the amount of money added to your total, for better or for worse. So like, if you owe interest on a loan, that sucks because you owe more money. But if you have money in your bank, and if you have like a CD account and the return is 4%, you're going to earn 4% interest, right? So you get money earned on that. I'm going to jump around a little bit. The APR is your annual percentage rate. It's usually used for loans and mortgages. It's like, is it something? It's not really relevant for most people, I think, right now. APY is the amount of money you gain from keeping your money in an account in a year. So again, instead of earning interest on a CD account, you're actually earning like an APY. Annual
percentage yield.
Yeah, it is annual percentage yield. And again, your like APY and the APR like might be different depending on what you ordered, you get. So you just ask your bank about that. A lot of banks, like if you open an account and you say like, I intend to keep X amount in the bank, how much will that earn me by the end of the year? And again, if you have like a savings account or a checking account, they're going to be like a penny. But if you open a CD account, they have like a whole calculator. So again, I have an example coming up about this, but just something to keep in mind. An overdraft fee, and this is extremely important, is a fee that happens when you take money from your account that you don't have. So if you use your debit card for something that's $20 and you only have $10 in your account, you now have negative money. And what the bank says is that they go, "Aw, dog, you really struggling. Well, you owe me more money now."
Yeah. How would you like to struggle more?
We're going to make you struggle more. So you now are going to owe $10 and your overdraft fee. And those overdraft fees are different from bank to bank. And there was like a time period where some banks were like, there's no overdraft fees. And I was like, how? Like, what's the caveat? Like, that sucks. So just something to be aware of with your overdraft fees. There was also a time where they limited how many interactions you could have with your checking account, like how many times you look at it or something.
Yeah, weird stuff like that.
Yeah, and I don't think that's the case anymore. They like changed that during COVID. So
this has reminded me too, if I may real quick while I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
That there are many accounts, sometimes savings accounts are like this, where you need to have a certain amount in the account or else they start charging you a monthly fee.
Yeah, true.
So just make sure when you're opening an account,
a minimum balance.
Yeah, a minimum balance. Because I did this. I've done this multiple times in my life where I've just left a savings account at below the minimum balance because I wasn't thinking about it and didn't care. And then I like look at my, my report for the month and I'm like, why have I been being charged like $5 a month by my bank for like the past 6 months?
Yes.
It's because I was below a minimum balance in an account. So make sure you keep track of that.
Yeah, something to look out for. Just like make sure you know the rules of the account that you open. And again, it also affects your credit, which we'll talk about credit in a moment. But you just make sure you know the terms of your bank account and try to work within that. Again, just accept it or get a better, account that works for you. Because you don't want to owe money for just not having checked. Like every major bank, if you're using a major bank, like a retail bank, probably has a mobile app. Just check how much money you have. If you know it's tight, don't risk it, because then you're probably gonna owe like double.
Yeah.
You're gonna owe like, and that's stupid. You don't want to like owe a bank because you were just like winging it. Protect your future self. Again. Other terms. And I included these two because sometimes when you do freelance work, people will wire you money instead of like sending it to you by a check because they're scared it's going to get, eaten by the USPS or like, the mail service or whatever. It's also just like very fast and it takes like 1 to 3 days to clear. So they will probably ask you for your routing number if you do a wire transfer. But a wire transfer is a way for people to send you money through like directly from one bank to another bank. So they can do this online or they can do this at a bank and you can send them to, there's usually a wire transfer fee. It's usually like $15 or something, or maybe even less. Some accounts have wire transfer fees waived and that's just something you have to check. And there's usually a cap on how much you can send, but it's usually like $30,000 or something. So so they might wire you the money so that you don't have to like go anywhere or check in the mail for anything. It just happens, you just see it in your bank account. You'll see like an incoming wire transfer. But when someone wants to wire you money, they usually ask for your routing number, and your routing number is tied to your bank or CD or whatever that allows people to wire you money. And usually if you have like checks, you have like an account number and then a routing number. And you can Google to see like which one is which. I wish I could show you. But
it's actually on most bank websites now.
Yeah.
When you go into your account, it'll be like right at the top and you click it and it will be very clear. It'll be like routing number, this, account number, this.
Exactly.
Like it's super easy to see now if you go on your bank account website and go to your accounts.
And then they usually just need to know like what your bank name is. So like if you're at TD, they'll say like, they'll ask what kind of bank you're banking with and you'll say TD, and then they'll ask for your account number and routing number, and then they'll send you money. You just have to make sure that person isn't like conning you out of money and like taking money from you. Make sure you trust, if you're giving any sort of money information that's tied to your money, make sure you trust that person. Okay, here is, and I cannot stress this slide enough. I think this is probably the most important slide of the whole day.
Big slide here,
big slide
folks.
alert. Big slide alert.
Big slide alert.
That's why there's like nothing else on this page, no extra accoutrement, right? The rate of inflation year to year is roughly 3 to 4%. That means everything is getting more expensive every year, 3 to 4%, right? The average interest rate for a savings account is usually less than 1%. So if you were putting your money in a savings account and saying, that's all I need to do with my money, I'll be set because I'm just like hoarding $10, well, your $10 isn't actually worth $10 in a year, in 2 years, in 3 years. Right?
It's worth 3 to 4% less than $10.
It's worth it has 3 to 4% less buying power than it did when you put those $10 in there. Which is why I went over retirement accounts and different kinds of banking accounts earlier. Because you are trying to make up for that inflation rate. And as someone in the chat is saying, that's why you should try to be pushing to get a raise every year, because you're actually every year getting paid less if you are not keeping up with inflation.
And
right?
As they said, CoStar, thanks for this piece of info. Yeah. If you get a raise, make sure the raise is more than the rate of inflation.
Yeah.
Or else you're not really getting a raise.
Yes.
If you get a 3% raise,
congratulations, you're making the same amount.
A raise. You're making the same amount.
So I have an example math at the bottom here. $10,000 in a bank for 5 years at the U.S. average savings account APY, which we went over earlier, of 0.42% will then earn you, after 5 years of having your money in that account, is $10,212.
So you got $200 off your $10,000 in 5 years.
And there's like calculators for this that you can use. Like I used like a savings account calculator to find this number. And then I used an inflation calculator to have $10,000, basically the same amount that you put in your bank account before, at the average rate of US inflation, let's say at the highest it's 4%, is now, in order to keep up with like that 10%, that $10,000 is $12,166.53. That is how much you actually need to keep up with inflation for those 5 years. Your $10,000 should now have earned that $12,000 to keep up with the rate of inflation. Okay?
Yeah.
And I know that that's very scary and that sucks, but I firmly believe that having the information of what is happening is the best way to formulate a plan to fix that.
For sure.
To work with it, right? Because we know this rate of inflation, but also we went over like retirement accounts and types of banks. So like, you know, you can try to make the most of the money you have to keep up with this rate of inflation. The information sucks and the reality of it sucks, but what sucks even more is going 5 years without knowing this and then going, oh my God, what happened? Like, why do I feel like I can't afford anything? I've
technically lost money by saving money.
Yes, like by not, and this is like the thing that caused me to do more with my money, you know, like open a different savings account, you know, try to make my money work for me. And this is why I'm at the bank all the damn time, to talk to like the people there, to be like, okay, so what do I do? Is because I found this number, and before, again, I grew up extremely poor until college. Like, you know, one $20 emergency away from being homeless, right? So what I thought was the good thing to do is to just save as much money as possible and put it in a savings account, when really what I should have been doing is putting emergency funds in a savings account and like the minimum balance, so that they don't just take my money for no good damn reason.
Yeah.
And then using the rest of it to invest in things, or to open a different kind of savings account, or to
go into a retirement account.
Go into a retirement account, to open a, you know, an account at a credit union so it gets better returns. Something that also I forgot to make a slide on, and I'm sorry. Basically, what you want to do is for an emergency account is look at your, is it 3 month?
3 month is like from what I remember, 3 months is like the general ratio where like you look at your expenses that will let you live like the way you currently live.
Yes.
For 3 months. And then like basically any extra money you have, you're putting into a savings account until you've built up this like 3 month nest. So like if I lost all my money today,
if you lose your job,
I would be fine for the next 3 months.
Yes.
And then once you have that, all the additional money you make that you're not using goes into index funds or retirement funds or things that will accrue better interest.
Yeah. So you want to build that, like, you know, all of your expenses you have, like rent, food, everything you need to live and survive off of, you know, and that includes whatever it is that you need, like subway fare, bus fare,
the 3 video money, games you buy a month, like all of it. Like you want to include everything you typically do. Like
if you mentally would like shut down without going to the movies once a month, you include that. You want to prepare for everything. You don't want to leave yourself in like a horrible lurch if you can help it. So you want to take the rest of that money and put it somewhere where it will earn more money. You know, you have to make your money work for you without having to think about it all the damn time.
That's the goal.
That's the goal.
I found that, like Julia said, even though this stuff can be very scary, for me, I felt really more positive about it once I knew what my goal was.
Yeah, what I was supposed to be doing.
It was like I was just like going to work and I was getting money and I just kind of had some money and then I would spend it and I would get some more money and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, what's the point of this? What am I trying to do?
Yeah.
And so then once I learned like, okay, you want to hit this and then hit this and then like this is what you're aiming for, it really helped me feel like, okay, I've got like a purpose.
Yeah.
And I can like work towards this to kind of ensure that in the future, you know, things are going better.
I also felt like I would never retire, and now I feel like maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
I probably won't, but you know, it's you got to make it work for you as best you can and just do what you can. And again, having the knowledge of what to do with it feels better than saying, I'm probably like, there's probably something I should be doing with this, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I kept doing the infomercial, like there's gotta be a better way. So this is a better way. Again, talk to a lot of financial advisors too, like financial planners will have a consulting meeting for free. You can find one of those in your area, because the way they get paid is if your account, like if you open stocks or index funds or whatever account with them, they get paid on like a percentage of whatever you've earned on top of that account. So they want you to succeed because it's the only way they're earning money.
Yeah.
So go get a free financial consultant consultation.
Can't hurt.
Can't hurt. It's great. And honestly, I wish that I had learned all of this stuff like so much sooner. But you know, better learning it when I did than never. So
it's like the old saying goes, like the best time to have done this was, you know, 10 years ago, but the second best time to do it is now.
Yeah. The best time to learn it was yesterday. The second best time to learn it is now.
Yeah. You can, it applies to anything.
Yeah. Moving on, let's talk about credit cards, because someone touched on credit scores earlier. A credit card
I'm
means...
going to the bathroom real quick.
Go for it. Can you bring me a Gatorade, please?
Yes.
Thank you. So, opening a credit card. Credit cards are basically like, I like to imagine it as this card magically has $1,000 on it. It's not going to have $1,000. It's going to be different account to account, but $1,000 is a very easy number to make up and just work with. It has $1,000 on it, and they say, you can spend as much of this $1,000 as you want this month. And you go, woo! The end of that month, you then have to pay whatever you spent on that card. If you spent all $1,000 on that card, you have to then pay them $1,000 at the end of that billing cycle. You have to pay it before that billing cycle's up, or else you're gonna owe money on that. That's basically like an overdraft in a way. But because it's a credit card, that fee is probably gonna be higher. And all of this stuff affects your credit score. I had a really long bubble about credit scores because I hate credit scores. Credit scores are a magical number that banks make up to tell each other that you are trustworthy with your money. So when you apply for a mortgage or a loan, or sometimes even an apartment that you want to rent, they'll say, what's your credit score? And you'll say 750, and they'll go, that's pretty good. And even when you look at your credit score, it'll say like pretty good. It's really fucking stupid. Anyway, the part that makes me, the reason I'm irritated with credit scores is because, so I've been watching my credit score recently because, you know, I'm interested in making my money work for me. So this is like a thing that I'm interested in. Kind of. And I check my credit report like all the dang time. Is that you can build good credit by doing things like paying your credit cards, making sure you don't overdraft your bank accounts, you know, just staying responsible with your money. But then like this thing that's supposed to help you get a better mortgage and better credit card offers, and get better loan offers, so you have lower interest on all of these things, is to have already a mortgage or a car. Like, I have a big ding on my credit score. It's pretty small. It's just like, it could be higher if you owned a car. And I'm like, cool, I'm trying to use my credit score to buy a car. And then they're like, but you don't already own one. And I'm like, you see the vicious cycle we're caught in. It sucks. But that you just basically at a base level, like having a credit card helps you build good credit to then get a better credit card. You just have to make sure you're paying everything on time, or else they will ding you for it. I cannot stress enough, I do not recommend using a credit card if you don't think you'll have that money to pay it off later. And you don't have to use a credit card every month that you have it. There's plenty of months, thank you, where I don't use my credit card. But then when I do use it, I just make sure, like a lot of them now have like auto pay. Just make sure that, you know, just make sure you're paying it on time before your billing cycle is up. And just make sure you know when your billing cycle is up. And your billing cycle, to go over the term, is like that time period where they say like, now you owe us this money. And it's usually like every 30 days or something. And it's usually oftentimes like the first of the month. Olive's here. Up.
Hi, buddy.
I just cannot stress this enough. If there's any sort of financial advice I have for you, is do not use money you do not have. Okay? Do not get a credit card you can't pay for. Do not put something on a credit card that you cannot pay for. If you keep doing this, you're going to get stuck in such a trap. Using money you don't have takes money from you in the future, because you will owe overdraft, you will owe fees, you will owe penalties.
Yeah, compounds and compounds and compounds.
It's better to say, I cannot afford this thing right now, so I won't get it, than to say, I really want this thing right now, so I'll put it on my credit card and just hope that I'll probably have the money later. No, make sure you have the money later, because now that thing that you thought was going to cost you $200 is now going to cost you $250, $300. And why are you giving extra money to these companies? Keep your money. Keep your money. Have as much money as you can.
A good point that Negapol has made in chat is that subscription services like Netflix or other things are good to put on your credit card, stuff that's easy to pay off, or that you know you'll pay off.
Yeah.
Because the more consistently you pay off the credit card every month, the more your credit score goes up.
There's also, do I go over this? No. Some credit cards have like a point system. Oh, I have it right here. Some credit cards have a point system, and some credit cards have better point systems that work for you than other card systems. And again, like NerdWallet has like a ranking of them and, you know, what you earn the most points on. Basically, it's like if you order a lot of food, you can get a credit card that gives you 4 times the amount of points on ordering food. And these points are just like things that you can use in the future for benefits. Like you can earn a certain amount of points to get a plane ticket. And you're like, well, it costs like 4 times the amount of points than it would money to buy the plane ticket. And it's like, yeah, but you're literally not paying for that plane ticket when you already were going to be paying to get that food.
Yeah.
You know, just like use...
The points are free money.
Just put like, if you order a lot through like Seamless, put that...
Which is Grubhub in most places.
Grubhub, thank you. If you have a Grubhub account and you're ordering food all the dang time, you can have, as long as you can pay it, I cannot stress this enough, you can have Grubhub or Seamless on that card so that you're earning points passively because you were already going to be ordering that food, and then you have points that you say like, ooh, suddenly I can go like pay this concert ticket with my points, or I can, you know, pay for this hotel with points.
Points are amazing, man.
Points are great.
You can use points on Amazon.
Yeah.
You can just be like, I want this on Amazon, I'm using my points.
Yeah.
And just get it for free.
So yes. So, you know, a thing to look into. Find the one that works for you, because some points cards are better for you than others. And some might be good for like your friend, but not good for you. So just, you know, think about what you're spending money on and try to get a card that you can both pay for, but also doesn't have a lot of like hidden fees that will earn you free money, basically.
Kosar in chat said, not advice, but I use mine for bills and just pay it off all the way every month.
Yep.
And it did good things to my credit.
Yes. That is, yeah.
Use it for consistent planned things you know you'll have the money for.
Yeah.
Or it's also good to use, like you said, for a big purchase.
Yeah.
If you know you're going to have the money for it.
Yeah.
And as long as you can pay off your full statement balance every month.
Yeah. Like if you plan on going on like buying a plane ticket that's expensive and you don't already have like points for it, get a credit card that gets you, if you know you can pay for it, get a credit card that will earn you points on that plane ticket, because then you're improving your credit score, you're getting free points, yada yada.
Yeah.
It's like a great way to do it. And then just make sure you pay it off like immediately. So that's great. Investment accounts. We kind of talked about this a little bit earlier. Investment accounts are basically like you put your money in a thing and then it goes into the stock market, or it accrues like interest, depending on what kind of thing it is, because of it's part of the stock market or it's tied to your state or whatever. Most common ones, I mean, everyone knows about the stock market. It's a little like gambling. It's probably the riskiest investment account that you can do because it requires a lot of work on your part, a lot of watching. So basically you like buy it, hopefully when the price of that stock is low, and then you watch the stock market go up, and then you decide to sell it for hopefully a higher price than what you bought it. So like if you buy a share of Apple, and let's say Apple is $10, you buy 3 shares of that, so you're spending $30 to buy 3 shares of Apple. You get some companies like Costco gives you money for being like, hey, we made a lot of profits this year, here's some free money, here's just like $1. You know, like depending on how much you have, they'll just like give you money for being like, thanks for supporting us, basically. But again, you buy $30 worth of Apple stocks. It goes up, you watch it go up, hopefully it goes up to like $100, let's say. Then you sell. Then you've earned, you know, $70 on that. That's great. So if you, the more stocks in a thing you buy, if it goes up 4%, that's how much percent it's going to go up, and then hopefully you sell it. Stock market can go down, and it can stay down for a while. You usually just want to like hold on to it until it has been. Yeah, it'll usually go back up after a while. So like you usually do this if you know a stock's going to go up like very quickly after buying the stock. Like if you're really sure like this thing is about to like have some big news that's gonna drive the stock market crazy. So you buy it and then you're like, I'm gonna sell it after. If you want like the immediate money. You could also use the stock market if you like just want to buy shares of a thing, and then you're like, I'm not going to touch this for like 10 years, so it can do whatever the hell it wants for the next 10 years. Hopefully it'll be better at the end. But yeah, it's very risky. It's kind of like gambling. I don't recommend buying individual stocks that much unless you really want to get like deep into it. Like you have to have a lot of knowledge. Yeah. And a lot of time. You can also get a stockbroker who will, or have someone else do it. You'll say like, hey, I want to invest in like these things. And they'll say, okay. And they'll tell you whether or not that's a good move. And also it's like your financial planner can help you with that. You know, they'll say like, well, because it's their job to also like look at the stock markets and say like, this thing's about to go up or this thing's going to go down. I suggest, or like these are always steady increases. So I recommend putting your money in this. Index funds are a collection of stocks. So if you invest in a group that's like the top 100 stocks in the market, if one of those falls, you are not getting dinged for it falling. Because hopefully one of the other 99, their profits will hopefully go up. So it's like a way of kind of trying to make sure you're always going up a little bit. You're mitigating the downsides. Exactly. That's not to say that it never goes down. Because if the stock market is bad for everyone, guess what? It's bad for your index fund. But you usually try to put your money in this if it's like another retirement account sort of thing. If you just like want to put your money in an account and then not look at it for a while. Yeah, it's the kind of thing where you put it in and you leave it there for the next 30 years. Yeah. And just like keep adding to it with regularity. Mm-hmm. And it's way safer than the stock market, and you don't have to pay any attention to it. Yes. I know like in America, like the S&P 500 is a big one, which is the top 500 companies in America. Yeah. So it takes whatever you put in and it spreads all of that money evenly between all of the top 500 companies in America. And then like as the market rises, you rise. As the market falls, you fall. But you're not subject to the whims of individual companies' fickleness. Right. Like if you buy an index fund that has Tesla in it, other things will boost it when Elon Musk decides to do something stupid. If you buy stock in Tesla and Tesla goes down, you're going down, guaranteed. You're going down. You're going down. Oh, someone said the term that I was looking for, which is dividends. Sometimes you get dividends from a stock, which is basically, thanks for buying our stock. So Costco is one of them, I know. I think Apple gives you dividends sometimes. Again, they're not usually that much. But it's something. But it's something. That's free money. I'll take any money I can get. Any free money is good. Any way I could get my money to work for me is great. One that I thought was very interesting for maybe this age group, I was going to say younger people, and then I realized that would make me sound like I'm 60. 529 education funds. So these are education funds, and these are state to state. So your state will have different ones from my state, or, you know, they differ from state to state. It's basically a savings account that you put money into, and later you use it for education expenses. And those education expenses includes tuition, dorm, books, school supplies, like a laptop, stuff like that. As long as you're using it for school, they probably qualify. That you just have to see like what your education fund allows. It basically grows interest and tax-free. So it's just like a good way of earning money on it. And you won't have to pay taxes on it because they're trying to encourage you to get like a college education. And they've actually expanded it. I think, again, during COVID, they've expanded it from just using it at a college to using it for like advanced degrees or one-off classes, trade schools, like any of that stuff. And there's withdrawals are free. Again, each state has their own. So if you are going to college in, or if you plan on going to school in like a couple of years, maybe it's worth putting some money in there just to earn some interest. You will have to search for the kind of funds in your state. Again, you can probably just Google it.
It's also good if you plan on having a child.
Yes.
To put money in one of those early so that by the time they're of college going age, you got plenty of money in there and they can access it for what they need.
We are not going to make it out on time, is what I just learned. Sorry, everyone.
Well, let's start moving quicker.
Yeah. Taxes. I do not do our taxes. It scares me. I do go through the process with an accountant. So I do know what I'm doing with the taxes. I just don't do it myself because there's a lot of little finicky things that I don't want to mess up because taxes scare me.
And we're a business too, so it's more complicated.
It's very complicated. But income tax is whatever you take home from a job that counts as income. If you have expenses, your expenses get taken out of that income. Technically, you just have to file that with your accountant or report it on your thing so that you lower your taxes. But basically, you pay on whatever technically went home to you. If you work for a company, usually that's taken out with every W-2. It's taken out at the federal level, the state level, and if you live in a city or the boroughs, a city level. If you work for yourself, Godspeed, because that is going out in a big chunk that you are responsible for. I go over it now. Advice for you, a freelancer, if you have a lot of money that gets taken out at the end of the year, you can pay your taxes quarterly, which basically means quarterly is like the months, your calendar year gets broken up into 4 quarters, which is every 3 months. So the quarters are like January to March, which then you pay in April, April to June, which then you pay in July, July to December, which then you pay the following January. It's easier on you mentally than paying one big chunk, and it's easier to manage because that's like a big number to have to track and a long year of tracking. So basically your gross income, what you were paid at the job, minus your expenses, which are your operating costs, equals your net income, what you're going to bring home and will pay taxes on. There's some things that you can file as an expense. There's some things that you cannot file as an expense. Talk to a tax accountant about these things because it's complicated. Here's some tax tips.
I was just going to say, talking to an actual tax person can also, they'll usually be able to get you better returns.
Yes.
And then using like a service like TurboTax.
I really recommend getting a tax accountant because they will know things that you don't, and they will save you money. I know that you have to like spend money to get a tax accountant, but if you work with them closely, they can probably save you some money. So in the long run, I think it's better because also the mental load is not there. Here's some accounting tips. Keep your receipts. Keep a log of whatever money you've made and spent on the job, income and expenses. It's an easy and cheap way of doing this is to make a Google Doc, right? So you can just keep track of like, here's the month of January. In here, you can say like, I earned $1,000 on my day job. I earned $50 on this commission. I earned another $50 on this commission. Expenses, you can say I had to spend, a program fee of $20 this month. Here's like, if you're doing emails on your phone, you might be able to take that as an expense. Some places you are able to take out rent as an expense.
If you got a home office.
If you have a home office, it counts. So, and usually what they do is that they have you measure like your office room, and then that gets taken out of your expenses. And then that equals your net. In order to get like an easy sum of this, you can I have this here. But basically you like highlight the cells that you want. These are cells, these little rectangles. You highlight the rectangles and then you go up into this menu and you click this ... and there's this little like sideways M, and then you hit sum. And then you'll see one of like these things pop up, and it'll like, you'll just see like the sum appear, and it will automatically calculate it for you. So if you want to do expenses, you can do like minus this amount. You know, you could just have like a regular amount here, like 20, but then you can have like negative 20 here, negative 2,700 for rent, and then it'll give you like your net, right? That's like an easy way. And then also at the end of the year, if you work with an accountant, you can just say like, I kept track of all the expenses. Here's a screenshot of my Google Doc, right? You can also type in the code for this. It's this. I made an example here. It's just a way of typing it. Additional tax notes. Don't try and dodge taxes. PayPal and Venmo reports all your comings and goings to the government. Huge tip, set aside at least 35% of what you're earning because it'll go to taxes, and you can't not pay those. You have to.
This is if you're a freelancer specifically.
This is if you are a freelancer specifically.
If you're a W-2 employee, you don't have to worry about any of this shit. You're on easy street.
No. Get a tax accountant. People go to school to become accountants. I don't know why anyone thinks that they can be a tax accountant on their free time, because people go to school for this stuff. It's that complicated. Also, if you mess it up, there's consequences, and then you'll owe more money than you ever have. Here's a tip from George. There are organizations that can help freelancers at reduced rates or a sliding scale. I forgot to take out again. This is for something later.
Well, it also says connect freelancers to CPAs. Yeah.
So they can help you find cheaper CPAs, which are tax accountants. You can Google these things: Gilded Co-op, accounting for artists, freelancers, and creative companies. Hell yeah, bookkeeping, hellyeahbk.com.
Hell yeah.
And also brass taxes. If you Google all these things, they can help you out, and they can find you someone who's maybe a little cheaper and also like knows the kind of work that you do. You want to work with an accountant that like understands that like paint is supplies and not just like fun, haha.
Yeah.
Additional tax notes. If you have some knowledge of taxes, you can file with the IRA. I don't recommend it, but you can if you feel comfortable with it. That's at, use at your own risk. The VITA program can offer free support for people who are earning less than $60,000. That's for federal stuff. They do have references and potential state support though, which is VITA and TCE. You can find that out at the irs.gov. If chunks of money leaving your account is scary when you're paying the 35%, again, if you're paying quarterly or at the end of the year, you can open a savings account, and again, make sure you know the base limit of how much you keep in that savings account, and just make sure it's always at that level. And then whenever you get paid like some money, take 35% of that and transfer that over to that savings account, and just say that savings account is money I don't touch until tax season, and then all of my taxes are coming out of that. So let's say you got paid $175 and you want to put 30% aside for taxes. Replace 30%. Again, if you don't know how to do this math, here you go. Replace 30% with 0.3. That's like 0.30 basically. 175 times 0.30 equals $52.50. So that $52.50 is what you would put into that tax account and say, that's how much money I'm gonna owe on taxes at the end of the year from this one job. And then the rest of it is all money that I have for me, right? So it's basically doing what the W-2 does and like taking the tax out, just not like giving it to the government. It's just setting it aside. So then you'd be left with $122.50 left for everything else. States have their own taxes, and some are better than others to be freelancer in. Sometimes living in a city, you have additional taxes. For example, New York City and its boroughs have a city tax. So it's pretty hard to be a freelancer in New York City just because there's a lot of taxes. There you go. I'm sorry I'm rolling through this so fast. We're already at time. I'm sorry, Jacob.
It's okay. I knew this was going to happen.
I'm sorry.
You put too much info in this presentation.
I know. I'll try to roll through things. Here's how to price things. I think a lot of people were interested in this. I asked George what he thought, and he just sent me all this. Price things according to what they cost you, not what others are charging. This is huge. How long does it take you to do a piece? Make sure you're charging a minimum of $15 per hour, since 1/3 of that is going to be taken by taxes. Commissions. If you can bang out and have no revision policies, you can do lower than that. Don't commit a ton. When pricing physical items, at minimum 3 times of what it costs you to make it. If it costs you $3 to make a zine, charge no less than $9 for that zine. And at that point, round it out to 10, because people will have a 10 on them, not a 9 or whatever.
Yeah.
You know,
there is something to be said for having bills, charging a bill amount if you're selling a physical item.
Yeah. Also, people just like rounded numbers, I think.
Yep, they do. Our brains like it.
Reasoning: the thing needs to pay for itself, so you need to pay for what it cost you to make it. Then you need to pay to replace itself, or a comparable piece of merch, $3, and the remainder is for you to take home, and then you get $2, and then you put $1 away. So actually on this, pricing a zine that costs you $3 to make and it's $10, you are earning $2 on this $10 thing because of operating costs and all that. George has this very useful Google Doc that you can copy and paste into a new Google Doc. Please don't input your own numbers in here. This is just an example he made. You can find this and more tools on his website. I encourage you to go look for it. So basically it's like if you're doing an event, these are all of the things that you would have to input. So you would input how much it costs you to get the hotel for the night, for each night, and then it all gets tallied in, and then you see how much you earned. And then you say, was it worth it? If not, maybe charge more. If yes, keep doing what you're doing. And then, all this stuff. So I'm sorry I'm moving fast. You can pause this in the VOD. Paying for art college. I don't really have any specific advice for this because it is case-by-case basis, but someone asked me about it, so I thought I would do it. You do not need an art degree in order to do art. Jacob is a great example. He did not go to college for art, but he is a professional artist. Is great. Most staff positions want to see your portfolio and know what you've knowledge in, like what kind of programs. Who cares where you went to school if you can make a killer shirt? If you would benefit from art classes, but don't necessarily have the budget to go to an art school, there are art classes that you can take in your area, probably, that are not tied to a college. So New York City has a lot of live drawing sessions, and I can't understate how great they are, because then you can talk to fellow artists, and you can network, and you can practice, and you can see how other people are doing things, and you get out what you put in. So if you really want to go to an art college, I really recommend looking for art schools in your state's college system. So I went to school at FIT because it was in state. It's part of the SUNY program, which is the State Universities of New York, which meant that it was significantly cheaper for me as a New York State resident than it would be to go to Pratt. And I had a scholarship for Pratt, and FIT was still significantly less expensive. So if you are out of state and you go to FIT, it costs you $49,000 annually. That is so much money. Try to avoid being in that much debt if possible. I know that's not always possible. You just got to do what you can, right? But it cost me $9,000 annually, because I live in the same state, right? And then I commuted, so I didn't have to pay for dorms. It was actually cheaper for me because I didn't dorm, and this $9,000 includes dorms. If you are going to a more expensive school, there's some programs to help you pay for it. I think libraries can help you find programs and things to help you pay. You can Google it. I don't know. There's probably representatives in your area that can help. We went over bank terms earlier. So if you have to take a college loan to help you pay for college, which I understand, you got to do what you got to do again, make sure you read the terms and interest rates. If you look at the interest rates and you do the math and you're like, I'm never going to be able to pay this off in my life, try not to take it. Go somewhere cheaper. Is it worth it? You know? So look for help. You don't got to pay that full price, probably. There's probably something that can help you. So do a lot of searching, because doing the legwork up front will save you a lifetime of debt, because America.
I've got a tiny tip too.
Okay.
This is only basically related. Okay. There's the segment about going to like a live drawing event where you could like be networking and meeting other artists. I know a lot of people say they have social anxiety or various things where it makes it difficult. They're scared to like talk to people. Yeah. This is my tip. This is the Jacob Pro tip. Okay. For how to talk to anyone. First of all, if you're at an event where everyone's doing the same thing, you already have a reason to talk to people. That is normal. Yeah. But the tip that always works is if you're near a person, you know, they're like in your proximity and you're doing the same thing, look at them and be like, hey, I love that shirt. Yeah. Compliment a piece of clothing. Start a conversation. Compliment a piece of clothing always works. Yeah. Because then it leads into, oh, where'd you get it? Yeah. And then that leads into, oh, well, is that around here? Do you live around here? Oh, well, now we're talking. We're having a conversation. Yeah. Compliment the clothing. That's the most powerful networking tool. Yeah, I mean, if you're not like a jerk and you're not creepy, listen, everyone's got some level of social anxiety. So not being a creep and not being a jerk, people are going to be like, oh, thank God. This person's normal. Okay, I wanted to touch on this really fast. Identity theft. It's a thing that happens a lot. So I want to tell you guys preventative things about identity theft. Identity theft can happen. It sucks. It's scary, but you can recover. The best way to fix identity theft is to catch it early by looking at your credit report. And your credit report, the 3 credit report companies are Experian, Equifax, TransUnion. And we talked about our credit report before. It's tied to your credit score, right? Once you enter your information on these services, the Experian, Equifax, TransUnion, you can look at what accounts have been made under your name. It will populate like you have an account with TD, you have a credit card with American Express, you blah, 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 right? If you see one where you're like, I don't know what Idaho Credit Union is, and I've never been to Idaho, you then freeze your accounts and you report that. And then you go to identitytheft.gov to report that someone has opened an account in your name and that you did not do it. A thing to double check before you report is to make sure that your parents didn't open an account in your name, because sometimes to help you with your future credit, they will tie your name to an account that they are taking care of so that it builds your credit score for later if you have very considerate parents. So just check with them to make sure that they haven't opened an Idaho Credit Union in your name or whatever before going to report it. I cannot stress enough how much it can mess you up not checking. It is like, I know that it's scary to go looking for someone who's done wrongdoing to you. It is scarier to have to try and fix that for the next couple of years, right? Because they can really mess you up. So I really recommend checking your credit report. Also, your credit report, you can get until the end of December 2023, you can get a free credit report with no dings to your credit once a week. In 2024 and beyond, you only get one free one a year. So I really recommend doing it now. Goku, Jesus Christ, here's healthcare. Good luck, everyone. She's dying. Her voice is giving out. I'm dying, Scoob. Healthcare, Jesus flipping Christ, I want out of America. Good luck, everyone. But it's good to know these things because, again, you have to know what you're working with to make it work for you. Europeans, give yourself a pat on the back. Go get a drink. Go get a snack. Make sure that you can vote in your next election to make sure that no one votes this system in, because it is
whatever complaints you have about your system, let me tell you, this one's worse. As someone who's both French and American, I can tell you this one's worse. The American healthcare system sucks, and I wish we didn't have to participate in it. But the gamble is this: if you don't participate, you risk having to pay $1 bajillion for one incident, right? But if you pay a little bit every month, you will only have to pay $500 million for an incident, right? And an emergency can financially devastate you. I think it was like the #1 cause of homelessness or bankruptcy. No, it's the #1 cause of bankruptcy in America is an accident, and having to pay for a medical bill. That was like the #1 thing. There are many resources in your state to help you find insurance. I've called New York State of Health a million times because for a while I didn't understand the healthcare system, and it was very scary to me because I'm someone who dislocates a knee out of nowhere. That happened to me this year. So, you know, it was very important for me to have good healthcare. Also, you know, being born deaf, I really wanted good healthcare. So they are not allowed to tell you what insurance to pick because these insurances are obviously run by companies. So that would be complicated and, you know, then whatever, it would be corrupt as hell. But they can tell you, they can explain all of the terms for you. They can point you in the correct direction and say, you should be looking for this metal tier. It's the whole thing. We'll go into it. Localhealth.healthcare.gov can help you find local organizations that can assist you in finding a plan if you find it overwhelming and confusing, which it is. So if you're having a hard time, I would definitely use that. Medicaid.gov, that whole link. If you are below the poverty line, you can qualify for Medicaid. I was on Medicaid for a while, and it worked well enough for me during the year I was on it.
It's probably the best health insurance any of us have ever had.
This is the best health insurance I've ever had in my damn life. I got to see all of my doctors throughout the year. Like I went for free eye care. I got glasses for free. I went to my yearly physical. I went to like all of my routine checkups and it didn't cost me a single thing. I went to a dermatologist. It was wonderful. Brian David Gilbert has a great video on healthcare. It's called A Terrible Guide to Terrible Terminology of the U.S. Health Insurance, but I'm going to try to break down the terms right now. These are very important when you are looking for healthcare plans. So the premium is what you pay every month. Your copay is the money you'll pay every time you go to see your doctor. So they're like, okay, you have like a $20 copay today. And that's all you have to hand at that time, right? Your coinsurance is the percentage of a bill you have to pay. The rest is your insurance. We'll go over that in a second. Your deductible is the amount you have to pay, is the amount you pay for covered medical things before your insurance pays. Again, it's a whole thing. And then there's your out-of-pocket maximum, meaning like there's certain things that you contribute to your out-of-pocket maximum, and then that's the most you'll owe for the year. So if you get into like a horrible accident and the bill for that's like $50,000 and your out-of-pocket maximum is like $10,000, you never have to pay more than that $10,000. Like your insurance will just cover the rest of it if they decide that it was needed, which that's a whole other damn thing. So I made an example of what it looks like when you're shopping for health insurance using like the New York State thing, using the New York State of Health website. So when you go to the website and you enter your zip code and what you're looking for. So like just basic health, no dental, no eye, whatever, just for you. And it starts from the cheapest to the most expensive. So this is what it looks like. It'll have like the insurance company. This is your metal level, and usually like bronze is the lowest, and then it goes up to like platinum or something. This is what it covers. So this is like medical and child dental, whatever. It's medical plus probably means that they cover some dental and some eye. And it's just for you. And this is your premium. This is what you're going to pay every month, right? So I clicked this top thing. I went to view details. I went to view details, and here you go. So again, your price per month is your premium. Your out-of-network coverage basically means This guy takes our insurance, but this guy doesn't. So if this guy who doesn't take your insurance, will we pay for it? No. Not this plan. So you have to make sure that your doctor takes your health insurance if you use this plan, right? Your out-of-pocket maximum here. This one is $8,700 per person. This is the most you'll pay for a year, and then your insurance pays for everything else. Paying your premium, this like price per month, does not count towards this. Because why would it? Of course. Some plans cover family or just you. This one covers just you. This is your deductible. This is how much you need to pay out of your pocket before your insurance pays for health services. Some services are covered even before this is met. So like a routine doctor's exam is covered by your health insurance. This does not, you don't need to meet your deductible to hit that. Like a routine eye exam, stuff like that. You have to check with your insurance booklet to see what services are covered. To see what your copay would be, check your booklet. Basically everything, check your dang booklet, because they'll also like break down each thing, because like going to the ER is different than going to urgent care, is different from going to your primary, and all of those things are covered in a different capacity, right? So I made an example. Like a fake scenario. Let's say you go to the ER and you have a $10,000 bill at the end, right? So I'm using the plan from the previous slide, which said that, you know, if you're in network, you have to hit your $4,700 deductible, assuming that you did not contribute anything else to this deductible beforehand. And then when I looked in the booklet, it said that if you go to the ER, you then have to pay a $500 copay beyond the deductible, right? And then everything else, because you paid your deductible and you've paid the copay, now they will probably pay the $5,200 if they decided that all the procedures that you've had were necessary, which, I don't know, they're insurance people, not doctors. If you're out of network, you still pay the $4,700 deductible, but then the copay is different for out of network. If you're out of network on an ER bill with this health plan, that would be a 50% copay. So whatever's left over, this chunk, you pay 50% of, and then they pay the rest of that. So basically your final bill out of $10,000 for out of network is $7,350. Where your bill, if you're in network, is $5,200. Does it suck? Yes. So just be sure to read over your booklet to see what the copays are, what's covered, what isn't covered, what your deductible is. There's also benefits. Here's what benefits look like. This would be under like those details that I showed you before. So like, you know, you would click one of these little plus things and then it would tell you like what is covered and how much you would have to pay. So this is how much you would owe. Here, you'll pay the full price of the thing until you hit the deductible. And then after that, you'll pay $75. So if this x-ray is going to cost you $1,200, guess what? You have to pay $1,200. Yes, this insurance plan sucks. It's basically only okay if you plan on using it, which is stupid, but welcome to America. Remember to vote. Basically, if you never see the doctor that much, you basically want like an emergency plan. Something like this would be fine for an emergency plan because your monthly premiums are lower. And then if your premiums are higher, that means they probably cover more because you're going to be using the service more. It's really stupid, but typically higher premiums equals more coverage. Think about it this way. You're putting more money into the system, so you're getting more coverage out. This is not always the case, so be sure to check on what you need day to day. Also, make sure that if you have a doctor you really like, make sure when you're picking an insurance to find an insurance that your doctor takes. Basically, if you're in good health and don't see a doctor very often, you'll want to keep your premiums low since you don't need insurance to cover anything. You're essentially picking an insurance plan in case you have a major emergency. If you're in poor health or see a doctor more often or take expensive medications, or expecting a baby, or you have kids, you'll want something with a higher premium, because usually you'll be saving money in the long run, since your copay, deductible, and out-of-pocket maximum will be lower. Different healthcare plans have different benefits, so be sure to look at them. Some are better than others, covering mental health care, overseas coverage, physical therapy, etc. So be sure to look at your booklets. Okay, quick thing on dental health. Insurance doesn't always cover teeth. If it doesn't, you can get a separate plan for that using the previous method. Just put in that you're looking for dental. Teeth are expensive, but not taking care of them is more expensive. George, our consultant, points out that local colleges with dental schools usually have low to no cost basic treatment, like cleanings and cavities. Find these by searching for local dental colleges near you. Also, if you're ever like, feel free to challenge a bill, by the way, that you get from like your insurance or your doctor. Call everyone. If you're like, this is too expensive, I didn't have this, I didn't have that. Like, challenge things, because they're trying to take, it's so scummy. They're trying to take as much money from you as possible. And if you challenge them, sometimes there's like things that they're not allowed to do, but they're hoping that will skate by and go unnoticed, and that you'll just pay them. But if you challenge them on it, they'll be like, oh, whoops, sorry, you're right. So it's annoying, but it is what it is. Last section.
We're almost there.
I'm sorry, everyone.
Stay with us.
Here's some like loose topics. Stretching and body care. Taking breaks is the best way to prevent
something.
Drink water.
It's just the best way to prevent. If you want to prevent, you need to take breaks. No, it's the best way to prevent like hurting yourself or having tendonitis. Tendonitis is when your muscles are inflamed from overuse. I get tendonitis a lot in this hand and in my elbow. I get it between my like right here, basically. It's like my funny bone, I think. I get tendonitis a lot in there. Also, a good way to prevent tendonitis is to drink a lot of water. Basically, tendonitis just like inflames your muscles from overuse, and then it really hurts to try to use it because everything's swollen in there, which then you can use ice packs and things like that. But drink water. Here's some stretches that I use. You probably know most of them. This one is you push your hands like together, and then you just like apply pressure, and you should start feeling like some pulling in your forearms, like here. I feel it really. Yeah, I do that one a lot.
Another one is you put your arm out like this, and then you pull.
That's my
pull back.
My most done one.
You lock your arm, and then you pull back.
I do this all the time.
This stretches like your wrist right here. Be gentle with yourself, okay? Don't wreck anything.
Reverse too.
Yeah, and the reverse.
Put your wrist down.
You go up, you go down. Try to do this every like, I don't know, 20 minutes, stuff like that, right? So that's how you do that. Another one is to like lock your hands like this and then pull up and go like back. Oh. Right? Other ones that you can do that I didn't draw is that you put your thumb like this, like in your hand. You wrap your fingers around it loosely, don't be a monster, and tilt your hand down. And then you'll feel your thumb stretching, and you can injure your thumb by drawing too much because you're using your thumb so much to like type and to move your pen and stuff like that. So you want to do this, right? So those are some good stretches. Be gentle with yourself. Don't do them. Do them at like, I don't know, 20 to 30 seconds at a time. Be gentle. Also drink water. Here's some exercises. So these are ones that I did that I do when I really burn out my arms. I'm going to use my bottle as an example, but wrist curls. You basically lay your arm flat on a table, and then the edge of the table is like this, and then you go like this. You go 1, 2, 3. You should use very light weights, and I'm talking like 3 pounds or less, right? And then you flip it over and you do the reverse. So you're like curling, but just at your wrist, right? And you do like 2 or 3 sets of 10 to 15. Again, don't hurt yourself and be careful. There's also bicep curls. You know what bicep curls are. You have your arm down flat and you curl up to your shoulder. This is to strengthen your elbow because you can get tendonitis in your elbow from doing this motion a lot. You know, you have to take care of your whole system here. You have to take care of your wrist, your elbow, and your shoulder. You have to build the muscles in there so that they can work with each other and support each other, right? So the first exercise is for your wrist, second exercise is for your elbow. This one, I drew it wrong, but you basically you want to do like shoulder exercises, right? So you have your hand, you're holding your weight, you put it over your head, and then you just go back behind you and try to keep your elbow like as straight up as possible, right?
Julia, why didn't you ask me what this exercise was called?
They're shoulder whatevers, I don't care.
They're not, this is an overhead tricep extension. It is not a shoulder exercise. This is for your triceps.
Well, yeah, it's like to support like the whole thing. There's also, you can also do like where you hold the weight in 2 hands. Then you go up and then you go back like this.
Yeah.
You know.
Also an overhead tricep extension. So if you're looking for the exercise, listen, I'm just offended that I work out all the time and you didn't ask me what an exercise was called.
I told you, by the time I got to this section, I was burnt out, man. I want it to be done. I've been working on this presentation for like a week. Shoulder whatever
is a tricep exercise. I do really like your diagrams though.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say.
Dealing with burnout. This one's like hard to go over. This one's like hard to solve for people because it's so personal. Burnout only gets worse. This is like, to me, burnout only gets worse when you try and spark the flame of creation again. I thought that was fun.
Very poetic.
Sparking and flame. Yeah. Let the dust settle and let yourself recover because your brain is a muscle. And it needs rest. It will get very tired, and then you're trying to like push and use that muscle more, and you're just gonna hurt yourself more, right? You gotta let yourself like be okay with resting, because that is part of the process. Something that I did not learn until like, maybe I'm still learning it. So.
Getting better though, getting better.
So you have to let yourself rest, because you want to try to prevent burnout as much as possible. And everyone needs rest. So don't think you're like, I'm pathetic, I can't draw anymore. Everyone goes through this. You're absolutely not alone. It's very common. If you feel guilty for taking a rest, remember that resting gathers your strength so you can hit it harder the next time you draw. It's like gathering your strength.
Like Goku.
It's like winding back up
when
and
he
then
has
punching.
To do the spirit bomb.
If you're just doing this, like doing little punches, you're not going to be as effective as like bringing it back, taking a moment, and then hitting harder. Know that everyone deals with burnout. Try and make sure you're doing things that inspire you, and draw things that you find fun. If it feels like agony and that you're like really destroying yourself to keep working, you have to take a break. Vacations and breaks are important because you have to stay in tune with the things that made you want to draw to begin with, or else why are you drawing? And then your brain's gonna go, why am I drawing? And then you're gonna go,
that's gonna go, oh, I hate drawing. Drawing feels bad. I don't like doing it. And then you'll never draw again.
Yeah, and then you see a beautiful sunset, and then you're like, that's why I started drawing. But yeah, that's it.
So basically.
True. This is the last thing: dealing with imposter syndrome. Just like burnout, this is something that I think literally every artist deals with. Everyone goes through imposter syndrome, no matter what it is, but artists get it a lot because art is so personal. It's so tied to us. And you see art that you're like, because if you like art, you're looking at art all the time. And then you're like, I really want to do that. But I can't, I'm not that good yet. I'm bad. But the odds are that person's probably looking at you being like, I wish I could do that thing.
Yeah.
Know that every artist has, out there has had this, and to some degree, and decided to keep pushing through it and make art that was more important than the doubts they had about themselves. I had a professor who sucked, but he said something very wise once. He said, how many bad pieces of art have you seen where you've said, why is that so successful? And the reason is probably that they kept pushing and that they stayed with it. How many great artists have probably quit because they thought that they weren't good enough, when people who probably weren't as good as them have succeeded because they just stuck with it.
Yeah.
Imposter syndrome's all in your head. You just gotta keep doing what you're doing, do what you know is improving you and your art, and you are having fun with it and you are still enjoying it.
I think about this all the time because I grew up around a lot of friends who were either really funny or really creative or artistic.
Yeah.
And so like most of my friends, either like I looked up to them in terms of their art and thought they were better than me at art, or I thought they were funnier than me.
Yeah.
And I still think that about all of these friends. However, none of them have a career in comedy or art, because I'm the only one of that group of friends that just literally never stopped doing it.
Yeah.
And not stopping doing it, it ultimately didn't matter that I wasn't as naturally funny as them, or that I wasn't as naturally artistically talented as them. It's a marathon, not a sprint. If you keep running, you'll eventually pass everyone who stopped running.
Yeah, exactly. So it sucks and you get in your head about it, but like, what are you going to do? Stop? That's stupid.
That's the only other option.
Just quit. Yeah. Like, then you've really guaranteed that you're worse because you've stopped.
Yeah.
That's the end.
This was a great class, Julia.
Thank you. I hope it helped people learn some tips. I hope that, people are feeling empowered to tackle things. I know that knowledge helps me feel more hopeful about tackling major problems, or like things that I was scared about, like, again, like making my money work for me. I was like I don't know what I'm doing and it's scary and it's a lot, but now that I've learned it, it's like it's actually not that scary, and I actually feel better knowing the ways that it sucks and knowing the ways that it can work for me, So I hope that this helps. I'm sorry that we sped up halfway through so much. But I was thinking about breaking it up into 2 parts. But then people would have to sign up for the class again for another month, and I didn't want to do that. So thank you everyone for sticking with me. Again, I hope that this was helpful.
I want to say too, because I see that Canned Fruits was saying they have more questions, but we're already half an hour over, so we kind of need to stop here. But if you want to put them in the Drawclass Discord,
yes, I will try to answer.
Yeah, Julia or I will read and answer you there.
Yeah, I'm so sorry again that this took so long, but there was a lot to cover. It's really just there's so many resources out there that are accessible to you. You just have to know how to find them. And I feel like I was trying to teach people how to find those resources by knowing basic terminology and basic building blocks, so that you can say, I know what I have to do. Now I have to find someone who can help me to do those things. So
yeah, awesome job. I mean, everyone in chat seems to be loving it. I'm excited for when this VOD goes up.
I really hope
I think
it's
a lot
helpful.
of people will be really helped by this, because it really lays out the foundation so that people can know where they need to start looking to get their stuff in order.
Yeah.
And thank you to all of you who are here, because you're at the Drawclass Patreon tier, and you're supporting us and enabling us to do stuff like this. And we couldn't do it without all of y'all. So appreciate you being here.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being a patron, and for being here in this class and being interested, because it's hard to teach a class that's very boring to no one. So I'm glad someone was here. I'm glad that all of you were here to ask me questions and seemed interested. So I really appreciate that. That's it for us. Secret Sleepover Society Sunday nights as usual, Sunday, Wednesday nights. And we'll be back on Monday with a regular Drawfee stream.
Yes, indeed. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.